Hello indie game fans! October closes off with fewer games than usual, which is kind of strange for all the hype that Spooky Month gets, but we do have a number of indie games of interest, some creepy, some cuddly, and all pretty interesting, so see what's coming up in this edition of Indie Gaming this week. Let's begin with Bad End Theatre, a puzzle game where you play as the director of a play and decide who gets to play which role in various combinations. I do love the art of this game, which caught my eye, where the interlocking stories of the characters are the main selling point. Do note that it's a shorter game, where the developers themselves says that it clocks in at 2 to 3 hours to see all the endings, but it does look like a title worth supporting. Black Widow Recharged is a remake of an arcade classic from 1982, where I'm not that old so I don't have any recollection of that game, but this version does look pretty neat. Where it claims to be the original twin-stick shooter, it looks pretty good and is being published by Modern Atari, which is some sort of zombie husk of the original company, but it looks decent enough so I'll give it a mention.
When the Golden Queen called the Magister for help, she requested the help of the most terrifying weapon on the continent, the Rook.
This video is brought to you by Defend the Rook, a rook-like tactics title with tower defense elements, where you lead a party of heroes to fight off the invading enemies. From the trailer, it appears that your focal point of this game is the Rook or the tower chess piece, but its capabilities in this game are so much more than moving in a straight line, being able to be upgraded and to be used in combat as well. But if the Rook gets destroyed, it is game over for the run. There are 3 hero characters in addition to the tower, with each having their own upgrade tree and system. I'm interested in the roguelike structure of this game and the meta progression, if any, making it a game of interest.
That would be the end. Oh, she didn't call you in vain, Magister. For her appetite for power is as limitless as yours.
Our first of many creepy games this week is Sunshine Manor, an 8-bit horror RPG where you spend the night in the haunted manor. It looks like a classic survival horror game from the Zelda-style action-adventure perspective in a similar way to games like Lamentum. It does appear to be more puzzle-oriented, but you can use spells in a limited capacity to attack your enemies. Additionally, this is the prequel to the well-received Camp Sunshine from 2016, where both of these should be of interest to fans of the genre.
Once, shortly after people existed at all, the stars talked to a lyre, and the lyre talked to people, and the people changed.
A narrative game with quite an impressive art style is Grotto, one that got my attention for precisely that reason, where you play as the soothsayer, trying to read the signs and to guide your tribe on their way. In some ways, this is similar to Astrologaster, where you play as a quack doctor, but I'm interested in the mechanics here. Additionally, this is from developer Brainwash Gang, who you might know from the very mechanically interesting clicker roguelite platformer Non-Guns, so I'm curious to see what this developer has made.
They tried, and they failed, and they tried again, because this is a story of failure, but this is also a story of hope.
Another visually striking title of the week is Subway Midnight, a horror adventure game that takes place on board a subway train, but it's not just any old train, but one that is infested with spirits. There are 100+ train cars to explore, a constantly changing visual style which I'm very interested in, many unique puzzles and 3 different endings. I don't usually do horror games myself, but the spooky cute look might make me curious enough to give it a try. This is also being published by Aggro Crab, the developer of the underrated action roguelite Going Under, so I trust them enough to be confident in this pick.
You are about to take the first steps of your adventure. Through a realm of sword and sorcery you will travel, battling bloodthirsty monsters as you strive to realize your ambitions. I have every faith you will accomplish great things here.
There are quite a number of bigger games this week, in between Age of Empires 4, Super Robot Wars 30, and Guardians of the Galaxy, but I do want to highlight Voice of Cards The Owl Dragon Roars, a card-based RPG from Square Enix, so yes, not indie at all, but it does have beautiful art and is a card game from a major publisher which is not common at all. Perhaps most interestingly, the mad genius behind the Nier series, Yoko Taro, is the creative director on this project, which is why it's of interest to me. Smaller games kick off with Atomic Cards, a card-based RPG with an interface very similar to Fallout 3. I find that the UI and presentation of this game does stand out due to how minimalist it is, and in spite of that, does look to have some deep RPG systems as well. The Steam page and description of Campfire Tales outright says do not play, since this is supposed to be a cursed video game, but looking a little deeper, this is a linear narrative horror game that looks to be of interest to fans of the genre. I'm not quite sure what kind of game Decoherence is, since the developer talks about customization of robots and setting them free in arenas to battle, but I'm not sure if the action is in real time and controlled by the player, or if it is some form of auto-battler, but given the success of similar games like this, including Gladiator bots, should be worth a look. Our next creepy title is Hermitage Strange Case Files, a paranormal horror detective adventure about a bookstore that attracts unusual customers. For as stylish as the presentation of this game is going for, looking to have some sort of Persona influence, things are much darker here, but again, perfect for the season.
When I was little, you were my hero. Someone I thought would always be there to protect me. I was wrong. And now it's too late. I don't believe the stories about what happened to you. There has to be more.
One of the most beloved indie adventure games is Cathy Rain from 2016, where the director's cut is a remastered version that is in full 16:9, expanding upon the game with an extended story with additional puzzles, making this the edition to pick up, with a 50% discount for owners of the original.
Just maybe, I can still make you proud.
Once upon a time, in the great Arkansas Kingdom.
One of the standout Halloween games from last year is Pumpkin Jack, an old-school 3D action-adventure title that does remind me of a simpler time, getting current-gen PS5 and Xbox Series X versions, so pick it up if you have not, since it really is one of the best games for the holiday.
The devil gave Jack one simple mission: find the wizard and destroy him.
Saint Kotar is a creepy psychological horror detective adventure game set in a remote town where something bad is going down, making it of interest to fans of the genre.
Be gone, demonic thing!
Standing on his throne like a king.
Let's kick off the top 5 with Super Dream Dasher, a momentum-based platformer that just looks like the cutest. You play as a little purple ball named Wish, having to restore the world which has been shattered into pieces by a mysterious cloaked sorcerer, armed only with a dash mechanic that must be put to good use. Getting a hang of the physics and the momentum of this very mechanic is the core of the gameplay here, where things like slopes, pits, and boss fights will get in the way. It looks mechanically simple, but will require a certain level of mastery, making it for fans of the genre. I know that some of you are looking forward to Happy Game, a deceptively named title, since this is a horror game about a little boy in a horrible nightmare, and curiously enough, comes to us from developer Amanita Design, best known for Chucho, Machinarium, and Summerust, so it's quite the departure from the usual stuff.
The times of man are coming to an end. I am the new beginning. Humble yourselves and pray to your only rightful God. You may attain the honor to serve me for eternity.
I just mentioned Forgive Me Father in my video covering first-person shooters for the Steam Next Festival, where this eldritch horror title stood out due to the cel-shaded art style. It has you battling monsters, using a variety of weapons both conventional and eldritch in nature. This will be released in early access with 2 out of 5 planned acts in this launch version, but it does look good, so I'll be keeping an eye on this. I love my cozy games, so of course, Moonglow Bay is very high up on my list, a fishing adventure game where helping to restore a remote town to its former glory by reuniting the fractured community. Since we get many farming sims, a fishing-focused title is something different, and since I'm someone that thinks that fishing improves all games, will of course be of interest to me. It's about fishing, cooking, selling dishes, upgrading your ship, and venturing to more exotic locations to catch more fish, looking like a compelling gameplay loop and will give you your cozy vibes for the week.
Ruin has found you at last.
And of course, it will be no surprise that Darkest Dungeon 2, my most anticipated indie game of the month, gets top billing, being the sequel to one of my favourite indie games of all time in 2016's Darkest Dungeon. Similarly, this is a roguelite RPG with quite a number of returning elements, including character classes, the turn-based positional combat, the light, stress, and camping systems, and the all-important narrator, but there are new heroes, as well as a change in structure as you travel onwards in an upgradable stagecoach.
Onward once again.
As a big fan of what this developer has done, I'm personally very excited for this, even if it's releasing in early access, taking the #1 spot. For more RPG titles, watch these videos and I will see you after the jump.
When you are ready, this rutted roadway will finally take you home.